We are live. This is the market update. I am your host, Bill Noble. The inflation number comes out today. Ooh, let me tell you what's going to happen. Algos will gyrate it up and down. The street may be a little bit too short to dollar. Regardless, inflation could be low because companies have decided to eat the tariffs. Great news for the consumer, right? Maybe not. Maybe if the companies eat the tariffs, that affects the labor market, which frankly stinks. The good news for crypto people is that this brings in the Fed. I think this brings in the Fed, 2, 3, 4, 6 months from now. It brings the Fed in hard. You're going to have all coins first, and then you're going to have a lot of great stuff happen in crypto. A lot. All right. But in the meantime, I say we think Ethereum and Solana. That's what I think. They give you a dip on CPI. Well, let's get after it. And they may give you the dip. Okay, let's take a moment to welcome who is here. MJ Hits. Howdy, what's up? Banks 911, Miguel Warmon, the original SGSG. What's up? Arendam, Desiree, Tyler, hello. Kyle, Yav, Thomas Chai, Find Out Now 7. Old Smokey and Malik is here. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon in Europe. Good evening in Asia. Good morning in the United States. Okay, so the Orange Man and the governor of California are having words. How productive. I'll show you the impact of this in another slide later. Okay, governor of California doesn't want to pay taxes. How nice. Now, here's what happens when you show weakness. You want to know why they're going crazy? You want to know why they lost their mind? You want to know what the window was for this whole thing? Was this professional wrestling thing with Elon? Right? The house was divided, and then whoever's interest it was to have social disorder just moved right on in, potentially. Or it was a gigantic stunt for the big, beautiful bill. In either case, the pro wrestling show is over, and I'm guessing the reason everybody is going to kiss and mace up is because, I don't know, they showed them the house divided. Orange Man says he will reconcile with Elon. Yeah, of course you will, dude. Who's going to finance the midterms? Now, this is what you get when you show weakness, right? You get cops in harm's way. You get citizens who are upset. You get non-citizens who are upset. And then, your tax dollars getting blown up down here. And then everybody on top of the bridge is also your tax dollars because we're supporting them. Or the printing press is, depending on how you look at it. So unless you just take a giant Bitcoin B and just tack it on this, right? We're going to have a revolution. It's just not going to look like this. It's not Instagram, but, it probably reaches its climax. We're almost like a third world country. The Orange Man is like the prime minister or the king, and we can't have social disorder on the king's birthday over the weekend. So I'm guessing this is mopped up on Saturday with all kinds of shows of force. Okay. Hey, remember tariffs? Remember what a nuclear disaster it is? Here's how simple it is. You ready? You want it simple? I'll give it to you simple. Giant Hong Kong funds plan to cut treasuries if U.S. loses AAA rating. Hong Kong pension fund managers have formed a plan to sell down their treasury holdings within 3 months if the U.S. loses its last recognized top credit rating. Boom. U.S. and China agree to a trade deal, and thank you for coming in. Thank you for selling your equities down 20%. Thank you for lining BlackRock's pockets with Bitcoin down at 77K. We're done. And crypto can just go up because we covered this ad nauseum during the whole tariff tantrum. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah, there was a huge market reaction. It doesn't matter. right? They picked a fight with the wrong people. The Chinese have a monopoly on rare earth mineral production. So guess what? You either got to go to Greenland to get rare earth metals, wink, or you got to make a deal with the Chinese. That's it. Crypto can go up now. Chinese officials agree on a plan. Everyone willing to sign off. Art of the deal. And the orange man did not wind up on the right side of that, I don't think. From Russia with love. So there was a cyber attack. It looks like Whole Foods shelves were empty. Actually, a lot of grocery stores were empty on Sunday, and nobody knew why until this. The first real test of the tariff pass-through. So everyone thinks inflation is 2.5%. The Bureau of Labor Statistics has not been cleaned out. It'll be 2.5%. And then algos will go back and forth. I don't know what they're going to do. You basically ignore the market on a day of a number unless it's shock, right? Everyone's like, oh, the payroll number was fine. You know, it was 130,000. Yeah, it was all hospitality, leisure, and healthcare, all for the elderly. Everything else, zero. Literally zero. So whatever these numbers are, you don't know what they actually are until like 2 weeks later. Okay, a serious message from Tulsi. Don't let them blow everything up. Don't let them start a broader geopolitical conflict. Okay, here's Tulsi running for president in 2028. And we really should be pushing people towards crypto. And if you want to know where your geopolitical tax dollars are going, ready? The Ukrainian Strategic Bitcoin Reserve. They've probably been funneling their money the whole time into ETH. And now, we're just going to take Uncle Sugar's money and buy Bitcoin. And for them, it probably makes sense because who knows what the value of their currency actually is. But, in case the deep state is running out of ways to try to embarrass the orange man. I mean, it's a fact, right? First you fight with Elon, then you have social disorder. Then these guys pull some huge stunt, right? Deep inside Russia. And now all of a sudden they've discovered Bitcoin for their image. They honestly expect us to consume this as news. Now, you want news? I'll give you news. Check this out. In Switzerland, because everybody is trying to pile into the Swiss franc to such a degree that yields on Swiss government debt are negative. Like, we're so upset about the dollar that we want to take Swiss francs, okay? And we want to take the Swiss francs and pay someone to hold their money. We're going to pay the Swiss government to hold our money, right? Normally you buy a bond and they pay you for lending them money. No, interest rates in Switzerland are negative. It means, oh, goody, take my money and park it there. That's how upset people are in fiat. So interest rates in the United States are 4%. Interest rates in Switzerland are negative. They're trying to get people out of the Swiss franc. They're like, oh my God, right? Because, having your currency massively shoot up in value, makes everything you make more expensive. Anyway, this is the extent to which they're trying to get out. Because you're probably wondering, so Bill, why are you showing me social disorder? Why are you showing? This is why. People want out of the dollar so bad that interest rates for Swiss francs are negative. Demand for Swiss francs is so high, it's like, stop bringing Swiss francs over here. We're good. That's the extent of the panic with Ethereum at 2,500. Very interesting, right? Okay, Goldman short dollar, Morgan Stanley short dollar, short dollar, short dollar. Part of me wonders what happens if you get a dollar squeeze. If you got a dollar squeeze, you might actually get a Bitcoin or Ethereum dip. Wouldn't that be great? Vivo Power and Flare launch definitive strategic partnerships to deploy $100 million worth of XRP with an interest rate for institutional yield. It's surprising that on the heels of the Circle IPO, that they're waiting as long as they have to start rolling out any type of strategic partnerships for XRP. Hyperliquid exploding. Arthur Hayes laughing at Binance. It's like, dude, are you going to list the token or what? It's up only. All of these signs are pointing towards this, like, just, it's like a volcano getting ready to go off in crypto. Rumors are going that Apple is going to buy Bitcoin, or Apple's just going to put it in the phone organically. Japanese banks have got problems. Norinchukin is at the Fed taking money. I think regional banks are okay. Big banks are okay in the US, I think, but maybe not so in Japan. In any case, this just leads to more printing. Housing affordability is a problem. Printing. Tariffs, can't pass them through. Have to not hire. Printing. It all comes back to printing. Okay, 10 million USDC to go long Bitcoin. $29 million into a Bitcoin long. Liquidation price 102. Coinbase premium at a 4-month high, right? Bitcoin on exchanges disappearing. I don't know how much longer it takes to drain the Bitcoin from whoever the final seller is. I'm assuming you'll find out it's China. I hope it's not us, but it's probably some sovereign. I mean, it's a question of time now. It's like literally, it's like TikTok, 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 right? And then there's just a whole plethora of research to suggest now would be a good time. Like, you know, especially if you get any kind of like red day, right? Like, give me a red day. Give me 2 red days. Okay, so people have not made that much money in Bitcoin, right? You know, in other words, net realized profit, right? Bitcoin has not necessarily gone parabolic to the point where people get rich in 6 weeks. You did have a very chunky move. You know, you had a chunky move off the election, right? People sold, right? But now there's no big chunk of P&L out there for them to take, which is a nice way of saying 100K Bitcoin is nothing. It's nothing. And the longer it stays there, the cheaper it's going to look. Upgrade your life. You know, we could have a really short market update. That's kind of the theme, right? You want to do social disorder? You want to do Eastern Europe? You want to do all this fear mongering? Or do you want to upgrade your life? This is unbelievable. I've been waiting for these snippets. So Peterson says, why won't Bitcoin just suck the investment capital out of everything? That's a classic Peterson question. And Sailor says, it is and it will, and that's why I'm here. Go back to the thing about the Swiss franc, right? Like the Japanese are in trouble, right? The demand for Swiss francs is off the charts. The euro is, I don't know, neutral. They're cutting rates, so it's not an exciting currency. They're spending themselves into insensibility to arm themselves to fight an 80-year-old enemy that probably doesn't want to be their enemy anymore. What currency are you gonna use? Like when you have to switch out of the dollar, where are you going? Platinum? You're gonna get yourself some platinum coins at a 40% markup to spot. You're gonna get yourself some Swiss francs. Go see Alexandra overseas. Where are you going? You know where you're going. Trump-backed World Liberty launches on Tron. Justin Sun gets his money's worth. Orange Man running like a promo. It's like an altcoin promo and a fund at the same time. Okay, Apple just showed AI reasoning models can't actually reason. So Apple basically came out and fudded the whole space by saying, AI can do certain things, but not others. It's not artificial general intelligence. Okay. So obviously, since Siri can't even tell me, can't tell me what the score of the Yankee game is unless I ask it 3 times, there is a future in decentralized AI. And the incredible FOMO, which was covered here at length yesterday, like, okay, large language models, you'll have to get a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit here if you want to write real stuff with it. But don't FUD this stuff, because the FOMO, like the FOMO is stupid. And also the FOMO brings attention to the fact that there are hugely undervalued things out there. Apple stock is getting destroyed because it's not playing. Decentralized AI has to exist somewhere. And again, the big players are throwing so much money at it. I'm wondering if there's like a solution percolating underneath. Wouldn't that be funny? Most people will miss this. Ripple is running tokenized treasuries on XRPL. Ondo Finance, backed by BlackRock's Buildle, mintable and redeemable on XRP. This whole thing about tokenized government debt, and then there's going to be this idea of just putting any asset on chain. Could be very simple, right? Just put like Pax Gold. Like, let's just get the asset on chain. Now, what they have to do is make XRP not just a ledger, but they have to make XRP a currency. You don't hear enough about the future of money. You hear tons about Bitcoin, but you're not hearing about anything else. And eventually, you're going to hear about everything else because, again, you have negative interest rates in Switzerland. They're like, oh, my God, please, we can't take it anymore. I mean, that capital flow or the next marginal dollar that's looking for Switzerland may find Bitcoin or ETH for that matter. Okay, crypto market structure bill moves out of house. Right. It moves out of the house because we're going to stop buying your government bonds if you don't stop fooling around. Okay? So everyone's like, well, it's too complicated. Congress can't pass 2 bills at once. Yeah, Congress can pass 2 bills at once. Because if the government bond market doesn't function, they don't get their sugar. So guess what? We're going to get everything we want in crypto. Everything. We're going to get the Solana ETF. We're going to get the XRP ETF, most likely. I don't think the SEC is in a hurry, but you're going to get both bills. Because, after this riot thing, first they tried to break the financial markets, and that wasn't enough. And then we had to have black eyes in the Oval Office. Okay, yeah. Then people really started to get hurt. Stores looted, people passing away. Not funny. You're going to get everything you want here. These guys have backed themselves into a corner. It's almost like their only accomplishment. Because who knows if the big, beautiful bill's ever going to get done now. Crypto is everybody's accomplishment. Okay. Circle IPO, Ripple says U.S. stablecoin regulation ahead. Okay. I'm all bullish on stablecoins. When Brad does an interview, Brad's got to talk about XRP. You want to hear something really funny? I emailed Brad. So I actually emailed Brad and said, hey, let me help you. Now, obviously, he's a busy man. But XRP has got to become money. Now, that said, all these stablecoin companies, we've talked about this, all the valuations of everything. Circle was the shot heard round the world, right? Ironically, it should have been Galaxy that mooned, but it wasn't. It was Circle, and that's fine. The market can come back to Galaxy. Come back to Galaxy, right? Dogecoin jumps 5%. Yeah, because, Elon is going to have to make this robot taxi thing palatable. It's not lost on everybody that they decided to take it out on robot taxis. Somebody told me that Waymo, like I'm not a big user of this stuff. I've seen it in Austin. Supposedly, Waymo has already got more market share than Lyft, and they're going to go past Uber in San Francisco. I haven't tried it. Trump's CFTC pick, U.S. can boost crypto innovation. Dude, the government wants it. And we forget this every day, especially across the altcoin spectrum. And the more mistakes they make, it's like they keep making mistakes and making mistakes and making mistakes and making mistakes. And this funnel all comes down to crypto, just like it did off the election. Eventually, they're going to have to show something. You know, like, what have you done? Wow. Great. Hey, you wanted to spend this into oblivion and half the country burned down on your watch. Huh? Things are going great. They have to pivot to crypto. Solana jumps 5% on Solana spot ETF development. Okay. Sometimes I wonder, I mean, on one hand, I don't think the SEC wants to like upset the apple cart. I think they want to see Ethereum and that ETF recover before they do it. That said, after seeing this thing in Los Angeles and everywhere else, I think we're going to get everything we want. I don't think they have a choice. Like, what have they got for shiny, happy vibes? Ray Dalio, see, I told you. It's a debt crisis and a civil war. It's both. Wow. I'm sure that's playing well at the White House and at the Fed, right? You know, he's not exactly on your side, but come on, guys. This gets really embarrassing at some point, especially since the Fed has to be aware of negative interest rates in Switzerland. The Swiss have to be on the phone like, what are you guys doing over there? Those conversations do occur, regardless of what side he's on. He's not on yours. Speaking of that, so this is from the 10th. Rogue NGOs prepare for nationwide color revolution. The heiress of Walmart calls for mobilization. You have no idea how much money the people that are at the top of the Walmart pyramid make. It's unbelievable, right? These are people who are basically sitting around saying, we're okay with what's going on. We're okay with whatever price you have to pay at Costco. We're okay with it. I'm not okay with it, and you're not okay with it. And, you know, we also know who's not okay with it, right? John McAfee from Antivirus. And amazingly, I actually got away with taking a clip from the latest podcast that I helped produce, and I posted the little clip, and the world didn't end. Right? The talking meme coin. Who fights for you? In a world where we have this going on. And you know what? The answer, so ironically, to this is Palantir. It's like lose, lose. The only way out is crypto. It's a decentralized world, period. Right? I mean, you know, tell me I'm wrong. Okay, dollar Schwitz. Right? Lux Algo still selling at resistance. Can the dollar go lower? Man, we hope so. We hope so. If it doesn't, you might actually get a correction. Boy, wouldn't that be nice? ETH down 1%. Solana negative on the day. XRP slightly perky. Inflation number hits in 2 minutes. Right? Oh, you know what? Right. We did a bunch to Mark yesterday. Okay, so we know about ETH on the daily chart. There's a lot of support underneath the move. I can't imagine there's any rationale for a big down move. Okay. You know, this is ETH on an 89-minute chart with like Lux Algo indicators. Okay, so this is, you know, tactically, this is very toppy, right? Because it's an intraday chart and it's a chunky up move. Okay. Boy, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, God, you guys want to do a dip? I can't believe they do. But if they did, oh, dude, you know, if people FOMO'd in up here, they give you some kind of dip to like, I don't know, maybe I don't know. Maybe it's 2,700. I mean, the number comes out in 1 minute. So, you know, that may be what it is. But remember, if everyone's sitting around waiting for a dip, you're not getting one. And Solana, it has never gone up, right? You go back to a daily chart in Solana. I mean, this whole thing where Solana is hanging out, most of these things are sitting at their 200-day moving average. I think a lot of these ETF guys are looking at it this way. They're looking at, you know, where are these big coins relative to their 200-day moving average? ETH, same thing, man. There's a lot of noise around here. Take this out. See this white line? It's the 200-day moving average, right? It's the bird on the wire getting ready to fly. That's what this is. Just sitting there. You ever seen a bird sitting on a phone line or an electric line? Just sitting there, just waiting to go. Take off. It's going to happen. Thing that's funny about XRP is XRP has a very strong buy signal from Lux Algo and is way off of its 200-day moving average. I mean, it hit the 200-day moving average and completely bounced. I mean, it's like that whole trade has been completely written off. I mean, if they have to break the big, beautiful bill down, you're going to have crypto components that do well, right? Okay, so breaking news. Wow, what a surprise. Wall Street estimates, right? I have it on my phone. That's okay. So let's have a laugh, right? Economic statistics. They're super accurate, right? High tech. Okay. So, yeah, all right. Morgan Stanley 2.4%, 2.5, Goldman 2.5% estimate for CPI. JP Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, Citibank 2.4, UBS 2.4, Hong Kong, Shanghai 2.5, Barclays Bank 2.4. Oh, look, it came in just as expected. And what does that have to actually do with what you pay at the store? Nothing. Now we'll just watch algos trade whatever they're going to trade. Like whatever algos think the expectation was. You know, Bitcoin Cash, super perky. The Roger Ver meme coin. You go. You go, man. I don't think that inflation number is terrible. We'll see what they do with the dollar, right? Like stonks are up. And this really speaks to like, I don't know, this speaks to Ethereum and Solana. Do you really want to buy the Magnificent Seven up here? Like even the guys who are bullish, even the guys who are like adamantly bullish, right? I mean, I listen to this guy I used to work with him. He's like a genius, right? But even he got caught up in the negativity in equities, right? You know, so down here, you know, he was basically saying, well, you know, this is a mess. It'll take 2 quarters to recover. And it took about 3 weeks. Now everything's at its high. And now they have to do what's called, they have to trade their way into these positions. Currently in Legacy, they're sitting around telling themselves that AI stinks, Bitcoin's overdone, short MicroStrategy, blah, 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 blah. All wrong. These guys, I mean, you can't believe how twisted up these guys are. It's like, hey, good morning. The inflation number is okay, and you're not invested. So you can buy the premium zone, or you can sit there and watch it kind of grind up. It's like grinding, and everyone's like, oh my God, I'm not long. You know what they're going to reach for? They're going to reach for crypto stocks. because they have to, right? You know, ETH about to go positive. Solana back in the, you know, like I said, this kind of is the chart, right? And then you come back over here, you flip back over to Bitcoin. Like, look, folks, Bitcoin is Bitcoin. I get it, right? Michael Saylor is right. But, you know, they're kind of running into a wall over here. You know, they're running into the premium zone. I mean, I'm not saying it's no good. I'm just saying, hey, what trade do you want to do right now? Well, the first trade that they want to do is Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash should be at 630, and it's not. And when this thing gets going, I mean, this feels like gradually, then suddenly. ETH, we talked about this, right? You know, you see ETH start grinding through 2867. Guess what? Poosh. Right? It's gone. Now, again, we don't know what they're going to do today. We don't know. A lot of times when they have numbers, you have to wait. But you don't have to wait for anybody to tell you, like, are you going to listen to Apple FUD AI? You know, are you going to listen to the whole thing about civil war? Or are you going to listen to the Swiss franc? I mean, there are abundant opportunities. Let me just like name a few offhand. Does anybody remember SUI? Does anybody remember SEI? Is there any such thing, right? Is there any such thing as a layer one that can't be used by a machine? Okay. And I'm being told that the story of the day, particularly for stocks, is we can officially put the trade war to bed. And this is a great way to end off. Remember the end of the world? Remember how everything was going to zero? Remember how it was going to be a recession? Right? Everybody was a recession. I saw a graph about the downward revisions in the S&P. Our deal with China is done. Full magnets and any necessary rare earths will be supplied upfront by China. Likewise, we will provide to China what was agreed to, including Chinese students using our colleges and schools, which has always been good with me. Yup. Right. Chinese have rare earth metals. Rare earth metals go in everything. Everybody poked the bear. Now everybody is like, yeah, we're all friends. We're friends with the Chinese. We're friends with Elon. You will look back on this and you will wonder, what was everyone doing? Why weren't you buying? I think the people who are buying in this environment, particularly like you said, you get yourself a trader. I feel very vindicated when I saw some of these other thought leaders said, you know what, if you missed it or you got twisted up, you're going to have to trade your way in. That means you're going to have to buy a dip or you're going to have to buy a breakout, define a support point, and if the trade works, you just keep it. And that's the way to do it. That is the plan. Now, in some altcoins, again, some of this stuff is so destroyed. We talked about Aave and synthetics yesterday, right? The U.S. government is saying we want people doing DeFi. Banks are going to come in and say, we're doing DeFi. This circus has been the ultimate moon your bags experience, especially since, you know, people are getting hurt, right? You show weakness, people get hurt. The primary job of government is to protect the people. Well, in reality, the primary job of government is to proliferate itself, potentially at your expense. In some cases, preferably at your expense. I know that there's not a lot of people listening to crypto in general these days, but that's going to change. And that's going to change quickly. So you got a huge opportunity here. They give you these sideways days. Take advantage. That's the market update for today. We will see you tomorrow.